Lifted Drinks. Join the party, skip the hangover. Created by hemp and cannabis lovers, Lifted is an amazing, tasty, non-alcoholic beverage created to improve any evening in or weekend out. Lifted is 100% hemp cannabis, 100% consistent, 100% of the time. We could ship anywhere in the U.S. Just add ice or mix it with your favorite beverage. Check them out at lifteddrinks.com. That's LYFTED drinks.com. Enter in radio to get a 20% discount at checkout. You must be 21 or over to join the party and skip the hangover. Today we're going to take a look at a report from Headset on New Jersey and the market, taking a look at the legalized adult use cannabis market at one of the most densely populated states, being New Jersey, positioned to be one of the higher revenue cannabis markets in the U.S. based on per capita spends and other cannabis markets. You can kind of expect New Jersey's total avenue market range to be between 1.3 billion and almost 3 billion. So in this Headset report, we're going to take a look at the first months of adult use cannabis sales, compare that to changes in the medical cannabis sales trends, and examine other cannabis markets to see what we can learn about the future of New Jersey, all coming up.
It's only entertainment.
Welcome back to The Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, capital markets analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast.
Starting off with comparing the average medical transaction size in New Jersey just before and after the launch of the adult use sales, you can see that the average basket size of the medical purchases dropped significantly, or actually just slightly after the launch of adult use. That will be significant. It's not significant yet, but in all adult use cases, that'll drop off because the price of your medical card will not break even to the savings, I'm putting that in air quotes, that you have. So that's just my guess. We're seeing adult use baskets smaller than medical baskets. So first day of sales on April 21st, that was only 1.9 million. I say only, that's pretty good. That's across 12,500 customers. So average basket size was around $152, similar to what we would have seen in Illinois, during the first sales, people going in and just kind of hoarding, buying a bunch of stuff, trying different things. Maybe they're from out of state and just buying a bunch of stuff. So that's a pretty high value triggered by first day enthusiasm. So average basket size decreased significantly within the first 3 days after opening. Some of the allure or whatever, or maybe just random locals going in and just buying what they need. Might be driven by fewer items in the basket, higher discounts, whatever it may be. But a month later, by May, that basket size dropped to $111. So they had to put in more discounts in there to draw more people in. That's just kind of how it rolls. In terms of how many things were purchased on average per visit, you can see that the larger medical basket sizes are primarily caused by medical consumers purchasing more total products per trip. Seems pretty obvious. Common trend is that markets in both combined medical and adult use sales make sense logically, as medical consumers were more likely to stock up on medicine that they needed rather than just stopping in and making a convenient purchase when you want, which is what the adult use market is generally all about. And the prices, like I said, is not going to really be a benefit for these medical consumers long term. So I think that the sales will end up just merging all into adult use like they have in pretty much every other regulated marketplace. But the one unique aspect of New Jersey's adult use market is relatively low tax advantage given to medical consumers. I'm not sure if that's unique. Just talking about that. There's a lot of markets which are heavily taxed on adult use purchases, so and then waived for medical. The 10% I've seen in most stores aren't enough. It's not enough to get people. It's heavily taxed. You give 10% off for medical people. It's not enough, but the cost of the medical card is too much. So the break even, if you don't buy enough, what's the point? And I think that's the issue here. Is that adult use purchases are taxed at only 6%, while medical transactions are currently taxed at 2%. That's going to drop to 0 here shortly. It's still not enough, though. So there's a lot of other states they're saying with the small differences that cause faster than average transition from medical to adult. They don't think it's going to happen that fast, but I do. I think it's going to be just like every other state. When we compare other markets, like what happened in Michigan, when Michigan flipped from medical to adult use, that flip happened pretty significantly. So when we look at that, showing the portion of Michigan cannabis sales generated over time by adult and medical transactions within an 18-month period after launching adult use, the proportion of medical sales declined steadily from a strong majority to around a quarter of sales. And you can kind of expect that decline to be even faster in New Jersey because of the taxes. Flower is pretty much the go-to wherever you go. It's at least 40%. I think that's the lowest market share in California at 40% for flower. So flower here, pre-rolls, that's a matter of convenience, really popular on the West Coast, not so much in conservative areas like Arizona. They prefer vape over pre-rolls, but I guess that's the exception to the rule. All other categories of cannabis products in New Jersey, making up this graph here, and during the first month of adult use, the flower more than 60%. So that's 50% higher than what the norm is, or the trend. The value is slightly higher than medical market, and similar trends reflecting for pre-rolls as well. And looking like they expect flower market to decrease over time. Like I mentioned, probably down to about 60% as more products gain some exposure and popularity. We'll do a New Jersey pot shop crawl later on in October. If you haven't seen the Seattle pot shop crawl or the Oregon pot shop crawl, San Francisco zombie apocalypse pot shop crawl, all of those are on the Talking Hedge. And so we'll end up doing we did Vegas. I think I already said that. We'll do New Jersey, we'll do Chicago, we'll do New York, all of that coming up fourth quarter. Looking at prices of flour and everything else on our pot shop crawl. Back to this headset report. Prices of an eighth of flour in New Jersey. The average price significantly higher in their adult use market than the medical market. So interesting difference in the total market average price. New Jersey's adult use market currently in excise tax on cultivators of 33%. Very similar to Washington, 47%, something stupid. As with most markets, that price is going to compress over the first 2 years of sales. By comparison, in established markets in Washington, you can get an ounce for $30. I was in San Francisco, and they had shake for like $65. Still, like California is still a really expensive market, but eventually you should be able to get an ounce for $20. You can get that in Oregon outside of Portland, and that'll be kind of the norm, in a couple of years. Flower prices kind of changing in other markets, showing what an eighth of flour in Illinois and Michigan over the last 2 years is going to do, trending downwards. So that trend for average item price in Michigan, more volatile than Illinois, but in both markets, those prices are declining over time. Average price of an eighth in Illinois in April 2020 was $58. And by 2022, that was down to $46. So saved you about 20% on that. Average item price for an eighth in Michigan dropped 50% over the same time frame, from $48 to $23. So it's kind of common for emerging cannabis markets, and that's going to continue in New Jersey, just like every other market, to get to that $30 price eventually for an ounce of sun-grown 16, 17, 18%. I'm not talking about like top shelf. I'm talking about just in general, you'll be able to get something that's affordable, that's not super high quality, but that will kind of set the floor in terms of pricing. Looking at sales projections, revenue in the market, kind of difficult to ascertain until New York comes on board. You'll get people coming across the border in the meantime. Looking at store connections, state reported data. Looking at New Jersey for earlier adult use cannabis sales on opening day, they reported 1.9 million. And then leading the headset to believe that these sales are going to decrease in average daily revenue to stabilize around 60% revenue volume compared to the first couple of days of sales. So all of that meaning that New Jersey is about to become a $800,000 to $1.2 million per day market. If you analyze California's low price, $136, and the high of Colorado at $314, estimating New Jersey's total annual cannabis market size between 1.3 billion and 2.8 billion, It's the beginning of the New Jersey cannabis market, but there's going to be a lot of things to learn from other mature markets, a lot of other opportunities as well to kind of make that transition from medical to adult use. And so those numbers and figures and estimates and trends will ultimately change. It's going to have to come back to the talking hedge and find out what they are.
With that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is The Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out. Don't forget to smash that like button on your way out and check out these other videos that we've got.
Hi, my name's Kate, and I'm your host of the Pop Moms Podcast. I started the Pop Moms Podcast, well, because I wanted to end the stigma against using cannabis, specifically with moms, but also anyone who chooses to consume. I strive for a balance of humor and education, along with some pretty rad guests, to help combat social biases that come with consuming cannabis. Kids are hard. Join me for regular podcast episodes packed with parenting hacks, real-life stories, and of course, my favorite cannabis products. The days are long, but the years are short. So roll another J and take a deep breath. Keep blazing and stay amazing.